Hi there and welcome back to the channel. I'm the GCSE science teacher, and in today's video we're going to be learning about the heart. This is a GCSE biology course topic, and if you do find it helpful, feel free to join our community on YouTube by subscribing. You can also find more revision for biology, chemistry and physics on my YouTube channel here, but also on my Instagram and TikTok, all of which is at the GCSE science teacher. So let's get started. The anatomy of the heart. We need to be aware that the heart is an organ. It's part of an organ system called the circulatory system. And that also kind of works well with the respiratory system. They kind of work together to help oxygen be pumped around the body, to be transported to cells for respiration, and also to remove waste products such as carbon dioxide and urea. And that is done directly by the blood. The blood also transports other things like hormones and other chemicals. But specifically, we want to remind ourselves that oxygen is needed for those working cells. So, because the heart is an organ, it's made up of a group of different types of tissues, and we're going to talk about each of those today. Remember that in the human heart, which is what we're talking about, we're actually talking about a double circulatory system, and I'm going to explain a bit more about what that means. The heart is also a muscle. It's made up of a cardiac muscle. Remember, there's three types of muscle. You've got smooth muscle, which we find in like the digestive system that kind of contracts involuntary. You have the skeletal muscle that we can contract by thinking about it. We have conscious control over it. And then we have cardiac muscle, which actually has a bunch of different network and fibers that can help cause the contraction of the heart. But again, we don't really consciously think about it, which is good for us. So we don't have to remind ourselves to beat our heart, because that would obviously be very difficult to do all the time. So as you can see, we have a picture of the heart. We've opened it. We've got a cross section of it. And you can see there are loads of different parts to the heart. We first need to think about the heart as two separate sections. If you want to look at the blue section, this is the area where deoxygenated blood comes into the heart and is transported out to get oxygen. Remember that this is kind of an artist's impression. You'll see this sort of blue and red idea in loads of different textbooks, loads of different diagrams. But this is not the true case. We do not have blue blood. Some organisms actually do, and I'll talk more about that in the video, but we don't have blue blood. This is just to illustrate this idea that some parts of the blood traveling around the body have less oxygen than other parts. And I'm going to talk about that now. So here we go. If we have a look at the heart, we can see it has the coronary artery. That's kind of found on the outside of the heart. And this artery is essential in providing oxygenated blood to the heart muscle. The heart is amazing. It transports blood all around the body, oxygenated blood, that is. But obviously, the heart itself is made up of cells that also require a lot of oxygen for respiration to release energy and help with that contraction process. So, the coronary artery is essential for that particular function by giving the heart the oxygen that it needs. The coronary artery can easily get blocked with fatty deposits. There's a condition called atherosclerosis, which is essentially the buildup of plaque and fatty deposits in the artery. And that can actually cause blood clots and cause a cardiac arrest or a myocardial infarction, which is a kind of a fancy science word for that. And this can obviously lead to death. It can be really problematic to the patient. And often stents are used to kind of widen those arteries. And I will talk more in a video about coronary heart disease and other associated illnesses that are non-communicable, because I know that's part of the curriculum. So if you're interested or you're learning about that now, let me know, and I will put that in my schedule to film a video about it. But I will have that coming up in the next few weeks or so. So, not just that, but the heart, like I said, is able to contract in a way that is involuntary. And this is because there are a group of very specialized cells found at the top atrium on the right hand side. And this is essential for allowing that contraction to occur. This is actually a network of fibers that conduct or have electrical impulses. It's part of the nervous system. And those specialized cells will actually act as a natural pacemaker. They help with the natural resting heartbeat. Um, However, if there is an issue with the heartbeat, if there's some irregularities, people or patients can actually be given artificial pacemakers to help maintain a regular heartbeat. And again, that's something found in the curriculum, so I thought I'd mention it now. Okay, so you've got two different diagrams here. The one on the right hand side is a simplified version. You can see it's kind of boxes or chambers of the heart, but it's shown in a very simplified way. I'm going to start off with that one first. But the exact same diagram is shown on the left hand side, and this is a picture of the heart. Of course, the labels I have simplified as symbols. If you do want to go back and check the different names of those parts of the heart, by all means, go back a few seconds and you'll be able to see that on the previous slides. But just for the sake of ease and keeping it simplified, I've made that choice on these diagrams. So on the right hand side, you can see the box diagram. And one thing we must first of all start off with is knowing which side of the heart is which. So when you get a diagram in the exam, you're going to be given a picture of the heart, and that is someone's heart that is looking at you. So your left hand side is actually the right hand side of the heart. And you can see that I've drawn RA, which is the right atrium, and below it is the right ventricle. And on the other side, you have the left atrium and the left ventricle. And those are the four chambers of the heart where blood actually flows. Now, on the right hand side, you can see that we have lots of deoxygenated blood that is traveling into the heart and out. And on the left hand side, you can see we have lots of oxygenated blood being transported in and out of the heart. So let's start off with the right hand side. We have blood coming into the heart by a vein called the vena cava. Now, there are the superior and inferior vena cava, and if you're doing GCSE PE, you might know a bit more about the anatomy, but at science level at GCSE, you don't actually need to know a huge amount about the vena cava. All that you need to know is that it's a vein and it's coming directly from the body tissues. So that blood has given away its oxygen to those tissues and taken up the CO2 and other waste products, and it comes directly to the heart and it enters the heart by the right atrium. The blood then goes down to the right ventricle, and this is going down through a valve. Now, the valve is called the tricuspid valve, and you don't necessarily need to know the different valve names. There are some examples that require you to. So if you are interested, I'll leave it in the comment section that I can write those in for you, but you don't need to know a huge amount. But you do need to know there is a valve there. And the reason the valve is there is to prevent backflow, because essentially the blood is traveling down the heart into the right ventricle and it's going to be pushed back up. So if the heart beats upwards, you don't want any of the blood to go back into the right atria. So that's why the valve is there. It's kind of like a closed doors to prevent the backflow. So the deoxygenated blood travels from the right atria to the right ventricle and up and out of the heart through the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary means the lungs and the respiratory system. And it's going there. Why? Well, it's going there to pick up more oxygen. And this is where gas exchange occurs during the process where red blood cells are traveling in a capillary through next to the alveoli. And I have done previous videos on that, so I'll link that for you. Remember that deoxygenated blood is going out of the heart through an artery, and it's the pulmonary artery. Arteries transport blood away, A for artery, A for away. And that's how I help my students remember this. So that's where that deoxygenated blood goes, picks up the oxygen, and then it travels around the body. The process continues. On the left-hand side, we can see that we have another valve, or another vessel, I should say, called the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein is a vein that's come directly from the lungs. So that deoxygenated blood has picked up the oxygen and now travels around to the pulmonary vein. Now, a pulmonary vein transports that oxygenated blood into the left atrium, and the left atrium essentially is the same as the right. It has a valve below it called the bicuspid valve, and that bicuspid valve then allows the blood to flow through. The valves close to prevent backflow, and the blood ends up in the left ventricle. Now, on the left hand side of the heart, we actually have a much thicker muscular structure, and that's because the muscle contracts much more strongly and pushes the blood around the body. So it needs more muscle to do that. That's why the left hand side is much more muscular. So the blood that's oxygenated is in the left ventricle and it goes up and out through to the aorta. The aorta is a very special artery that transports that oxygenated blood out of the heart and to the working cells all around the body. There are other valves in the heart called semilunar valves, and these are also located centrally. The two different sides of the heart are also separated by something called the septum, which essentially just prevents any mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. In fact, there are some conditions where people are born with a hole in the heart, and this can actually cause issues with oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from being separated, and you can actually end up with people feeling very fatigued because of that condition. Okay, so that is essentially a quick overview of how blood flows in the heart and around the body. So, when I spoke at the beginning about this idea of a double circulation or the double circulatory system, we need to know that basically everything I've just described is that we have the pulmonary circulation, which is the right hand side of the heart, where all the blood is flowing and it's going directly to the lungs to get that oxygen. Okay, it's to remove the waste products from the blood and to pick up oxygen ready to be transported around the body. The pulmonary circulation then leads nicely to the systemic circulation, which is on the left hand side, where that oxygenated blood now is able to be pushed around to the rest of the body. Now, you might be thinking, well, why? Why on earth does the pulmonary side need to go back to the heart and then pushed around the body? Why doesn't it just go from the lungs to the rest of the body? And it's because of that muscle that the heart is. It's such a powerful contraction, and it helps maintain that blood pressure and flow. And that's kind of why we have adapted, I suppose, to actually have that double circulation, because we are very complicated multicellular organisms. So we need a bit of a push essentially to get that blood around the body and transport those nutrients. Just to simplify things a little further, you can see this diagram I've created. This essentially just shows you that the blood is pumped twice through the heart. You've gone as deoxygenated blood, which is the blue blood essentially. It gets pumped around to the lungs, picks up the oxygen, is oxygenated, goes back to the heart and out to the body, and then back through. And you can see there's different arteries which transport blood away from the heart, A for artery, A for away, and the vena cava and the pulmonary vein transport blood to the heart as well. Now, I did mention in my video, and I will have a follow-up video about blood specifically and also blood vessels coming up in the next few days or so. And it's going to talk about how different organisms actually have different colored blood than we do. So blue blood is a bit of a myth in the human world. I know there's some historical ideas that royal people have blue blood or deoxygenated blood is blue, but we don't have that. It's all to do with the hemoglobin and the iron core that causes blood to be red. Some organisms, however, actually do have blue blood, and I will talk about that in my next video, for biology at least. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, let me know in the comments section below. You can also request any GCSE biology, chemistry, or physics videos that you would like creating for any topic, really. If there's anything you're struggling with or would like some more help with, do let me know. It's always good to hear from you. And thank you for being part of the community here on YouTube. I also, like I said at the beginning, have an Instagram and TikTok, which you can find more of my revision content on as well. So feel free to join us over on there. I have been the GCSE science teacher, and you have been curious. I will catch you in the next one. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and thank you so much.